The comments are disabled on this one because I can imagine they're going to get really nasty. Hey, I'm Claire. I'm 28 years old, and this is a story I've never had the courage to say out loud until now. When I was 19, I thought I had found my first real love. His name was Daniel. He was older, charming, a little reckless, but he made me feel seen. He'd pick me up on rainy days, write little notes and leave them in my textbooks, talk about the future like we were building it together. But that future shattered in the most humiliating way. One night I came home early from a friend's house. My mom's car was in the driveway. Nothing unusual. But as I pushed open the front door, I heard laughter. Hers and a man's. Daniel's at first. I thought maybe he had stopped by to talk to my mom, but the tone of their voices, the softness in the way she said his name, the uncomfortable silence when I stepped into the room, it all sank in like lead in my chest. She was wearing his sweatshirt. He was holding her coffee mug. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not in front of them. I just stood there, watching my mother and my boyfriend sit side by side on the couch like nothing was wrong. When I asked them what the hell was going on, Daniel said, "Claire, you're young. We didn't mean for this to happen." And my mom, she had the audacity to say, "You'll understand when you're older." Older? As if betrayal got easier with age. I packed my things that night. No destination. No plan. Just me, a duffel bag, and the sound of her voice replaying in my head like a bad chorus. I didn't speak to her for 5 years. I cut ties with everything that reminded me of that house. I changed numbers, started over in another state, worked nights, went to community college, then eventually landed a job in tech sales. By 26, I was doing okay. I had a studio apartment, a cat named Toast, and a tiny circle of friends who didn't know the weight I carried. I didn't tell them about Daniel, or my mother. That chapter was sealed, or so I thought. Until I met him, Eli. He was kind in a way that didn't feel performative. He didn't just open doors. He noticed when I was quiet. He didn't ask what was wrong. He asked what I needed. We met at a networking event. He spilled coffee on my shoes and offered to buy me new ones on the spot. I laughed. He laughed. It was easy. A few months in, we were inseparable. He introduced me to his friends, then his dad, and finally, his mom. We were at brunch when she walked in. I was across the table from Eli. He was smiling, oblivious. I knew that face instantly. Her name was Margaret, my mother's old rival. The woman my mom had accused of stealing her fiancé back in the day. The woman whose name was spit out like venom whenever my mom was drinking wine and venting rage. And now, I was in love with her son. I didn't say anything that day. I smiled, shook her hand, and acted like I'd never heard of her before. But inside, I was spinning. I had left my mother for betraying me. Now I was dating the son of the woman who, according to my mother, had done the exact same thing to her. Was this karma, or destiny, or something worse? I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing. I wasn't walking away this time. Planning the wedding was surprisingly easy. Eli was all in, excited, supportive, and so proud to tell the world I was going to be his wife. We booked a vineyard in the spring, sent out simple yet elegant invitations, and agreed to keep it small. But one name stayed off the list for a long time. My mother. I hadn't seen her in nearly a decade. Not since that night. Not since Daniel. I told Eli the basics. That my relationship with my mom was strained, that she had hurt me deeply. He didn't pry. He only asked once, "Do you want her there?" And that question kept me up for nights. It wasn't about reconciliation. I didn't need closure. I had already healed the wound she left behind. But something inside me, Something petty, something proud. Wanted her to see me. Wanted her to sit in the back row and watch me marry the son of the woman who, according to my mom, had stolen her fiancé, had ruined her life. To see how the girl she betrayed grew into a woman who didn't just survive, but thrived. So I sent the invitation. No note. No phone call. Just a card. Claire and Eli invite you to witness their union. And I added a line at the bottom. Small, almost invisible. Dress code. Formal. Emotions. Optional. I didn't know if she'd come. Until the day of the wedding, I was in the dressing room, halfway through my makeup, when my maid of honor peeked her head in. Claire, there's a woman here. Said she's your mother. I turned slowly, heart calm, not racing. Let her in. She walked in, wearing navy. Conservative. Hair pulled back, like always. She looked older, tired, smaller than I remembered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You look beautiful." I nodded. "Thank you." She held my gaze. "You look like someone I don't know." I smiled. That's probably accurate. There was a silence between us that could have swallowed the room. Then I said what I came to say. "The woman I'm marrying into. You remember her, don't you?" Her face stiffened. "Of course. Her son is kind, loyal, the opposite of the men we used to fall for. The opposite of Daniel." She flinched at his name. "Good. I thought about not inviting you," I continued. "But then I realized, this moment, this day, it's proof. Proof that I won." She blinked. "Won?" "Yes. You tried to ruin me. You took what I loved. And still, I built a life better than anything you could have imagined for me. And now, I'm marrying into the family you spent your life envying." "She doesn't know you," my mother said quietly. "And I don't think she wants to." I paused. Maybe that was true. But it wasn't about her. It was about me. About showing up and proving that no matter what my mom and her sister-in-law had done to each other back in the day, I was evolving. I was thriving. I was exactly where I wanted to be. So you're here today not as my mother, not as a guest, but as a witness to how far I've come, and how far behind you've been left. She didn't cry. She didn't lash out. She just stood there, quiet. Then she turned, and without a word, walked out. She sat in the last row of the ceremony. Didn't speak to anyone. Didn't smile. When I walked down the aisle, hand in hand with Eli, our eyes met for a moment. And I saw it. Regret. Not for what she did, but for who I had become. Later that night, I danced. I drank champagne. I laughed with Eli's mother, Margaret, who beamed at me like I was her own daughter. I watched my mother leave before the cake was cut, and I didn't chase her. I didn't thank her. I just smiled. Because the truth is, I didn't need her to see me. I needed to see myself. And what I saw was a woman who chose love over revenge, and still won.